Hi everyone, my name is Cassandra. I'm the owner of Lavish Studio. I'm a brand ambassador for Eslashes, and today I'm going to be your instructor, instructing you on how to do a classic full set. I'm excited to get started, so let's jump in.
Okay, so just a couple things to make sure of before you get started with any lash appointment. You want to make sure your hands are cleaned and that everything is sanitized and up to your local health standards. You want to make sure the eye is closed and immobilized at all times during the appointment, so make sure the client is not opening their eye at any time during the appointment. You want to make sure that the client is fully comfortable, and you want to make sure that you're using a safe and correct length and thickness for those lashes. Make sure the lashes are also squeaky clean before you get started to avoid any retention issues. The correct amount of glue is used, so not too little, not too much, and you always need to do a patch test on new clients 48 hours before their appointment to make sure there are no allergic reactions. Also, we want to make sure lashes are applied 0.5 to 1 millimeter away from the lash line to keep those lash follicles safe, to make sure that we're not getting any glue in them and clogging them or causing any irritation to the sensitive skin of the eyelid. We also want to make sure lashes are no more than 2 millimeters longer than the natural lash to make sure they're safe for the client and healthy and comfortable. We want to make sure all lashes are individually isolated before applying a lash extension, and on average we're going to apply about 60 to 100 extensions per eye.
I have the supplies that I'm going to be using for this client. I have my two favorite tweezers that I'm going to be using, my jade stone, my tape, primer, super bonder, adhesive, cleanser, lashes, nozzle wipes. Here I have my under eye gel pads and my wands.
So Cass is going to show us how to apply under eye pads. So the first thing you want to do is have your client open their eye and have them look up. They don't have to look back at you or look downwards, just look normally. Then you can place the iPad down using your thumb and index fingers to hold the iPads. So you want to press down very gently to secure the inner corner and move outwards. You don't want to go too close to the eye. You definitely don't want to get the iPad or the under eye tape anywhere in the eye margin. You want to keep it just below the eye area and below the eye margin. If you get the iPad or the tape touching the eye at all or the eyelid margin, this can actually cause some bruising or just some major discomfort for the client, so you want to be really careful with that. Now, if any little baby lashes pop off, you can just use a small piece of gentle micropore tape on a diagonal to cover those bottom lashes. So you can do it on the outer corner and the inner corner, just small pieces diagonally to cover up any of those little lashes. When the client's closing their eye, make sure they close it very slowly. If they close it too fast, they can actually cause the iPad and the tape to shift and move out of its position. So just have them close their eye very slowly, and always double check to make sure that the client is comfortable. And if you need to readjust the iPad at all, you can gently lift it on the outer corner and readjust it to make sure that it's perfectly covering all those lashes and also that the client is super comfortable. This client's lashes have been fully cleaned with the lash cleanser before the appointment, and now we're going to show you how to prime the lashes for the best prep and the best retention. So we're just going to apply one small drop onto one of our clean disposable microswab brushes, and then you're just going to take your second microswab brush and dab those two together to get the perfect amount. You don't want too much because you don't want it getting in the client's eye. You want just enough so that you can prime the lashes. Now that we've got the primer on our microswab brushes and we've got the iPads on the client, we can start priming the lashes. So you're going to use those two microswab brushes to really work the primer in between each of the lashes, on top and underneath. It's important that you prime both in between the lashes, on top of the lashes, and underneath them to make sure that you're doing a really proper job and getting them really prepped and prepared so that you'll get the best bond with that lash adhesive. So you're going to want to repeat these steps on the other eye. So this is especially important if your client has oily skin, oily lashes, that kind of thing. It's so important to prime, and it helps your retention so much. And if you're in a humid climate, it's really, really important to use primer. And the final step is drying those lashes really well, making sure they're fully dry before you apply the first lash extension. So next we're going to get ready here. Now, if you want to draw on your lash map, you'd want to do that right away right now. I'm just going to attach it on the screen for you guys. Then pull out your lashes you're going to be using either on a tile or in the case and put your glue drop onto your jade stone or your glue ring. You want that glue drop in a nice dome shape since that's the easiest for dipping your lash extension into, and it keeps the glue at the nicest consistency. Then we're going to start working by applying those first few lash extensions. So you pick up one individual lash extension off the tray, isolate one natural lash, and apply it on and hold it in place. So we're going to show a little bit more of that, those first few lashes being applied, and just how we go through applying these classic lash extensions in a little more detail. So when you're dipping, you want to dip about 1.5 to 2 millimeters into the glue drop slowly before you're applying that lash. So we're just applying those first few lashes there, and we're going to show a closer zoom up of isolating one individual natural lash. So you need one lash by itself. Make sure there are no other lashes that are sticking to it. Make sure that it's completely isolated. Now you're going to want to use your tweezers to kind of file through to look for that one natural lash and then keep it isolated by itself. So there's a couple different ways you can isolate with your tweezer that you can see here. Sometimes you just have to pull to the one side. Sometimes you have to pull lashes away from both sides. Just the most important thing is to make sure that it is isolated until it's dried. So if you're working with a really fast dry time on your glue, then that lash extension is going to dry to the natural lash pretty quickly. But if you're using a slower dry time, you'll need to keep those lashes isolated until that glue has actually dried onto the natural lash. So you can see she's working with a fast dry time glue here, so you don't have to hold the extension on for as long with that. So we've got the lash isolated. We're picking up one classic lash, dipping it into the glue and placing it directly on top of that natural lash and getting that perfect bond. So we're going to do a few more lashes here. Now when you are applying lashes, you want to make sure you're not more than 2 millimeters longer than the person's natural lash. So make sure that if their lash is about 9 millimeters, you don't want to go longer than 11 millimeters on that section, because we want to make sure that the lash is safe and healthy for the natural lash. Now some lashes can be more difficult to lash than others, so I'm going to show you some taping tricks now that help so much with just isolating those tricky lashes. So here we're actually taping in layers. Once we have a bunch of extensions already on the lashes, it makes it so that we can tape up those extensions onto the back of the lid. You want to be really careful with this. You have to make sure that the client's eye is not open. So after you do tape up those lashes onto the lid, use your lash mirror to double check and make sure that the client's eye is closed, and always double check with them to make sure that they feel it's closed and comfortable as well. Now when you're taping onto the lash extensions like this, taping in layers so that it makes it easier to get at that bottom layer, usually I like to de-tack the tape that I'm using so it's not as sticky. So you can, if your hand is super clean, you can de-tack it on the back of your hand. You want to make sure you're not getting any oils on it though. So you can always just de-tack it on a clean surface just by placing it down and pulling it back off on a clean sanitized surface, just so that it's not super sticky on those lashes there. And then for the outer corners, what we do is place a little piece of tape on the middle of the lid, pull it over and secure it onto the nose, and what it does, it just spreads out those lashes a little bit, so it's a lot easier for us to get at the outer corners. Now it's super important to lash both the inner and outer corners because it gives such a completed look, but a lot of the inner and outer corner lashes right at the edge can be pretty small, pretty short, pretty thin, so be careful you're not lashing ones that are too small to lash, and be careful that you're using the appropriate length for those inner and outer corner lashes. So we're going to do that on the other eye as well, just file through, and when you're coming to the end of your set, you actually want to start filing through with your tweezers to see if there's any more lashes that you can cover. The more coverage you get, the more completed the set looks at the end, and you'll be surprised how many lashes you do end up finding near the end. Now for the inner corners, it's just the opposite. We place it in the middle of the lid and pull outwards towards the hair. And then you can get at those inner corner lashes. Again, make sure you're using the right length and everything for those short little inner corner lashes, but pulling the tape from the middle of the eye outwards actually helps so much when you're lashing those inner corner lashes. Now, when you're a new lash artist, I really recommend doing 50% on one eye and the other eye back and forth. So let's say you apply 5 extensions on the left eye, then apply 5 extensions on the right eye. Just because you may not get 100% coverage when you're brand new, you want to make sure that they are leaving with a super even look. And then whenever you're removing the tape, make sure you hold the skin really tight and remove it super gentle. Now, once you're done, you could apply either your super bonder, nano mister, or simply just dry those lashes with a fan. You want to make sure that you are drying the lashes fully before you take anything off, because you don't want any fumes getting into the client's eye. So we do recommend using a super bonder to help with those fumes and things like that. Then you're going to go through and check for any stickies, any lashes that are stuck, any that could be stuck to the bottom, or any that are stuck together, and take care of those. And then gently remove those under eye pads, holding the skin tight, again making sure the client is super comfortable when you're removing it. If you need the help of your tweezers, you can use your tweezers to help kind of remove that tape if it's a little bit stuck as well. Then make sure you always comb out the lashes, have them looking their best, and try them again before the client opens their eyes. So there's the before and after of our classic lash set.